I appreciate you giving me an hour of your time, first and foremost. I know we had a chat. Oh God, it was probably about a couple months now, something like that, since we
Happy about that.
spoke. Yeah, I've been aware of you for quite a long time, probably since around like 2022. I've seen a bunch of your social media posts, and I remember first seeing it. I kind of thought, who is this guy? Because I seen like a lot of kind of like local people share it, but like I just kind of thought, is this like some guy that's like an internet personality? And I suppose you like. To an extent you are, but it was only kind of later on I found out you were kind of from the local area and stuff like that, and which seems to be a bit of a common theme with people I have on this like show. Like I end up not realizing that they're right within my proximity and end up speaking to them. I've kind of got your kind of titles down here, so forgive me if it's a bit too broad of that, but the main two things that I see you kind of talk about is obviously the mind and mindset in particular. Would it be fair to say that you're a mindset coach? Would that be like the correct terminology?
Yeah,
And
that's as good a time as any.
and I know that you're into hypnotherapy as well. That was actually one of the first things that I watched on your YouTube channel was street hypnosis, and I'm interested to get to know how that kind of concept came about. But before I get to that, I just kind of want to ask, how did you get into hypnotherapy and mindset coaching, and this line of work in general? What kind of was a catalyst for that?
Really good question, because for years I was working in IT. I'd doing quite well in IT. I rose to the level of fellowship of the British Computer Society, all that sort of stuff. Never thought about any of this kind of thing at all. However, growing up and all through the first 40 odd years of life, I was painfully shy. Looking back on it, I guess it was social anxiety that I had, which meant I was painfully shy, terrified of speaking with strangers. So even doing something like this would have been way out of the comfort zone, would have been impossible. Um, so working in IT was brilliant because you just hide behind the computer. It's much, much easier. It was all text in those days. Video was a rare luxury. Um, but it all came to a head when I had one panic attack too many at a Christmas party
Oh,
that I
right.
foolishly
How
went to.
convenient.
All these people we've been talking away online for ages from the kids. It was kind of just before the days of Facebook and so on.
Right,
There
yeah.
was an online community I was in, and someone in those days I lived at that point. I lived down near London, and somebody said, "Hey, we all live near London. Why don't we all get together for a Christmas party?" Normally, I would have made any excuse not to be there, but I thought, you know what? I've been chatting with these people for months. How hard can it be? And then I went there and found out exactly how hard it could be. It's one thing typing on the keyboard, it's quite another face to face with
Yeah,
people.
definitely.
Had a massive panic attack. Actually locked myself in a cubicle in the gents for about 20 minutes till I calmed down, and I then fled, ran, and didn't stop running until I was on the train. And I decided, you know what? Enough's enough. You cannot go through life like this anymore. Have to do something about it. As luck would have it, a couple of months later, there was somebody doing a 2.5 day free seminar all around personal development, and a friend pretty much dragged me to it. I very nearly bailed out of going to that as well because it's a room full of strangers, but a friend dragged me to it. I went to it, went through some of the things that we're doing, thought, actually, I can feel this making a difference. This stuff could work. So, given it was a free event, it's one of those where they do the free event and then they sell you all their trainings and
Yeah.
all that sort of stuff. It's a fair way of doing it. I mean, that's the way it goes. And I sort of thought, you know what? I could learn this hypnosis, NLP, coaching, learn all of this stuff, use it on myself, get rid of all that shyness, and then carry on with the IT stuff. So me being me, I signed up for everything they did, took the whole lot, studied hypnosis, NLP, speaking, right the way up to train the trainer level, did the whole lot, sorted myself out, told some friends what I'd done, and of course they'd say things like, "Oh, can that help me get over my fear of spiders? Can that help me stop smoking?" And I go, "Yeah, of course." So did these things for them, worked out really well. And I was thinking, I really like this. I'm enjoying this. By that time, I'd been in IT for about 20 years. I was getting a bit fed up of it. And I thought it would be lovely to change and become a coach, but high paid IT job,
Yeah.
high outgoings that go with it, couldn't afford the pay cut. And then a massive stroke of luck. My boss called me into the office one day and said, "I'm really sorry, because of the financial situation, we have to make your position redundant. Here's a wheelbarrow full of cash, because bear in mind, I'd been there for
Yeah.
over a decade. Wheelbarrow full of cash, never come back. And I thought, if ever I was looking for a sign, this is
This would be
it.
it, yeah. Would this be
And that was it.
around, when you say the financial situation, would this be around the 2008 kind of time when the kind of banking crisis happened?
So I would have been around about 2010.
Oh, right. Okay. So like the kind of start of George Osborne's austerity, just for the timeline of where we're at. Yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't even think about looking for another IT job as a backup or anything. I said, right, well, that's it. I've got a bit of cash now. Let's become a coach full time, and been doing it ever since.
No, I mean that's good though, because obviously like the time that you mentioned, like it wasn't like a unique case yours, right? Like a lot of people were losing jobs, and that was due to what I just mentioned with austerity and all these types of things that were being implemented at the time. And as someone that's quite an avid kind of societal watcher and how things are now, and the kind of links back to 10, 15 years ago and how that's still affecting people today and the political climate and that, I think it's cool that even though that was a not so great time, a lot of good things kind of came from it. I don't want to like try and make or romanticize austerity in any way, obviously, but like
No, I know what you mean though.
it was good. Like I don't want to call it a silver lining, for lack of a better term. It was good. Like people could. I mean, it was the same with kind of COVID, right? I think when kind of crisis happens, it gets people to rethink what direction they want to go in life and stuff like that. Like a lot of people kind of not U-turn, but take a left turn in life and so on. One thing I found interesting about what you said there is you were obviously, to begin with, using this coaching to develop yourself rather than for the aim of, you know, being able to help others. But I think that kind of probably links quite helpfully when you ended up becoming to help others later down the line. How much did you have to learn about yourself before you could get to a stage of obviously being able to translate the information that you've taken in and communicate to others so they could reap the benefits of that as well?
That's a good question. I've not really looked at it that way before. I guess really we're probably always learning about ourselves in some way.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I've gone through phases thinking, oh, great, I know this stuff now. Wow, everything's going to be. Oh, wait, there's more. There's more. So there's always more, and you kind of look back over your past, and like, oh, now I can see things sort of fall into place, things get explained, and then you peel away another layer. So I think it's kind of an ongoing thing. The deciding to become a coach bit, that was kind of forced on me by the redundancy. So I'd helped quite a few people by that point, just for free friends, sort of help them out. So I knew I could do it. I knew it worked. I knew there was an appetite for it out there. And I think for me, the redundancy was an essential thing. I think if that hadn't have happened, I wouldn't have ever taken that step. Because it was the comfort. It's like you have to give up all of this security. Could risk losing the house. What if it doesn't take off and I'd risk losing the house? The funny thing was, a year or so later, I then sold up the house and went out to Bali to work with someone out there for a while. So it's funny how these things just go from, no, I don't want to lose the house, to right, sell the house, go there.
Yeah.
But
I suppose it's just an element of survival though, right? Like it's understandable concerns that a lot of people have in day-to-day life, especially with how the economy has been for like the last 15 years specifically, but you know, throughout the history of time. And it's interesting you were talking about like social anxiety and stuff like that. For me, like as someone that was quite socially anxious, I say that I still am now in specific environments, but it's not like an overall general thing now. And I know where my threshold is to where I can push myself, but not put myself into the point of like self-destruction or having a panic attack or something like that. I think there's like a fine balance to be found there. Like, you know, for me, like, even though I do this and this was something that I would never have thought I would end up doing, I did a little bit, I actually kind of going back to taking a left turn in life, I actually did a little bit of counselling training at college a couple of years ago. And it was because when I was working a job in I guess it would be called the third sector, but it was basically like an employment support kind of office where you'd help young people with what they would say is barriers to employment, but I don't really know what that means, to be honest. Like I feel like it's kind of condescending sometimes. But
Yeah.
I was at a training for that, and it was to do with, I think it was through the Murray Wellbeing Hub actually. But I can't. I just remember it being at the college, and they had a thing that said it was talking about suicide. It was a suicide prevention course, and they had like a list of reasons, and what the objective was someone would say. Ask the person that was the person that might be suicidal. It was basically like a test to make sure you could be able to check in on people, right? And there would be like,
Okay.
there's loads of reasons, like, it might be financial worries, it might be this, that, etc. And I was kind of sat there thinking, well, I don't see the point in actually doing this because it's not real life. Like, we know it's pretend. And then the actual exercise started, and you weren't actually, wasn't mandatory to say. But then I started hearing all the other people ask, and I started getting quite nervous myself of, am I going to say? What am I going to say? Like, how do I approach this? And I think I was like one of two people that chose not to ask the question. And I came out of that course thinking, wow, like that's a real reality check in a way, in the sense of, if I'm not willing to do that in a scenario that really doesn't mean anything, it's so like miscellaneous, what am I going to do if it is like a family member or a friend, or even just any kind of general member of the public, right? So that was kind of my aim to challenge myself as I went and did the kind of induction counseling course, just to kind of get into the habit of being able to listen, but also listen to hear rather than just listen to respond, etc., etc. And at the end of the course, we had to do, I think it was a 5 to 10 minute talk on what our thoughts were over the entirety of the course. So there wasn't really any wrong answer or anything like that. And as someone that like speaks to people that I just meet for the first time, like I'm doing with you just now, for like an hour at a time, like on paper it should be like quite a simple kind of task for me, but it was getting up in front of an audience, like a live audience, so that was different. And it was only like 10, 12, maybe 15 people actually. And I remember just like, I was kind of ruminating on this the whole week with nerves. Like, it sounds bad to say it, but they took a break halfway through and I hadn't gone yet. And I genuinely thought about leaving. Like, and so it's interesting, like, but at the end, when I kind of not overcame it, but when I went through with it and I realized that, because a lot of this is distorted thinking a lot of the time, isn't it? It's stuff that's not going to be reality, and the fears that we have are not usually, real, I guess you would say. I know that sounds a bit bad, but like a lot of the stuff we worry about is over exaggerated a lot of the time through our own mind and our negative kind of thought process. But I agree with what you're saying. I think it is good to kind of challenge that, and you'd be surprised at how far you can go when you do. But obviously still bearing in mind that, like, I think you can go too far the other way, can't you? You have to challenge yourself all the time, and then that can turn in a downward spiral and stuff like that as well. So it's a nice balance, I think, we have to find.
Yeah, I think you're right. There is a balancing act, and yeah, I have seen some people who do go sort of kind of completely overboard with the whole constantly challenge yourself, never live within your comfort zone, always be looking for something new. And it's like, if you're constantly looking for new things, well, what's the point? Because you find
Yeah.
something new, and then you go and find something else new. So what was the point of finding it? There's nothing wrong with, from time to time, just going, you know what? I'm comfortable here. I'm just going to sit here for a bit. I'm going to chill in this environment for a while and just enjoy it. I can still then create something new a little bit further down the line, but right now it's time to enjoy what I've created. Because otherwise, if you're just constantly rushing at high speed, you get to the end of it all. It's like, well, I didn't actually enjoy any of it because I was just bombing along the whole time.
Yeah, and I think there's probably like a lot of journey rather than the destination type mentality a lot at the
Yeah.
moment. Like I'm reading a book at the moment. It's a guy he's been everywhere recently. You've probably came across him yourself, Gary Stevenson, or he goes by Gary's Economics on YouTube. I've been reading his book, and one thing that I've kind of took away is like he grew up in like a really kind of poor background, and his I guess obsession was financial gain, money, right? He wanted to like change his life circumstances for the better, and he ended up getting into trading at Citibank and one of these big kind of banks that along with Goldman Sachs and that were kind of responsible for the financial crisis in 2008. But
Yeah.
like he kind of goes into he ended up making a lot of money off of predicting how the state of the economy would go after the financial crisis. But it got to the point of where when he would come to bonus day and like this piece of paper would be pushed across the table to him and it would have astronomical numbers. Like I think one was 390,000, the other was maybe 2 million the next year. That a lot of people started pointing out to him, like, what are you doing this for? Like, you're always working, you never go out, you never go anywhere. Like, you don't even spend the money, like your whole obsessions became this. And it just seems like you're not any happier. And that's kind of, well, where he says that he kind of flicked a switch and, started realizing that the whole reason that he was gaining this amount of wealth was because he was seeing that, an inequality was absolutely skyrocketing and just has continued to do so ever since then. So I think it's interesting how people can kind of forget their original purpose, right? Because even though his purpose was money, it was money to better his life. Where, he was talking about when he was kind of in the midst of doing it, like he wasn't even wearing a suit doing it. He was still wearing trainers he'd bought 3 years ago and a hoodie and all these types of things. Not like that's a bad thing or a bit, just to kind of get to the point, like he'd forgotten every other aspect of his life. He'd bought a nice house and there was no furniture in it and he hadn't bought any furniture, just stuff like that. And it almost becomes like a, dare to say it, like a kind of like a mental health condition, that kind of process of like I'm putting all my effort into getting something, but I don't know why anymore. Like there's no kind of reason for it because it's affecting my life so negatively.
Yes, because we lose focus, as you touched on it. Why am I doing this? We kind of lose focus, and yes, when earlier on when he was making lots of money, it's because he needed the money. He had the money wasn't the goal. The money was what would get him the things that he wanted. But somewhere along the line, kind of, and that happens to a lot of people. You lose focus of why you're getting the money, and it just becomes, oh, I want money, more money, more money, more money. You lose touch with why you want that money. Then you don't realize, hey, I've reached the point where I have enough money to do all the things I wanted to do. Let me enjoy doing those things now. Which for some people, that realization becomes too late. They kind of get to the end of their life, go, hey, I've got lots of money, but I've got no happy memories. I've got nothing that I enjoyed. It was all just in pursuit of the money.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, anytime with whatever we're doing, just kind of remind yourself, why am I doing this? What's the point? Why am I doing this? Am I enjoying it?
Yeah.
Is it because sometimes we can do something and it can be really enjoyable and have a really solid purpose. After time becomes less enjoyable, and the reason that we do it or reason we did it kind of no longer exists. There's absolutely nothing wrong with going, you know what? It's time to switch it up. I'm not enjoying this anymore. It's not getting me anything. Let me do something different.
I suppose there's always like a comfort in routine as well, right? Like the whole just kind of bare kind of premise of routine, whatever it is someone's doing. So even if the purpose isn't there anymore, the structure of familiarity is quite a comforting thing for just the human race, isn't it? Like I don't think anyone deals great with change. Obviously, like it affects others maybe more than some others, but I don't think anyone is delighted with change, is what I would say most of the time.
Yeah, I'd say you're right. There is comfort in the familiarity and the routine. And even for people who do different things every time, and they say, oh, but yes, I'm always doing new things. I'm always doing different things. I'm always changing things. They're not. They've got that constant familiarity of doing something new, doing something new, doing something new. That becomes their familiarity. Get them to go, you know what, I'm not going to do something new. This month, I'm just going to stick with what I've got. And you can sometimes almost see them break out into that sweat. Oh, because it's not their routine. So yeah, you're right. We do fall into routines, and there's nothing wrong with routines as such, as long as they are serving our purpose, as long as they're still helping us.
Yeah, and I think, I guess being conscious of why the routine's there as well, right? Because I think a lot of it does become subconscious of, you kind of just get lost in it and you do it as like second nature, right? Okay, so the main thing I hear you talk about, and it's all over the kind of banners of your podcast, your social medias and that, is I hear the word fear used a lot, and kind of turning fear into a strength was one of the sentences that kind of hit home with me. So What is your thought process and approach towards fear?
So I guess the first thing I'd say is that fear is, it sounds strange saying it, fear is not something to be scared of.
Yeah.
Um, Daft thing to say, but really fear is, or most fears are really part of our unconscious mind telling us, hey, there's something we need to address here.
Yeah.
And I can give you an example of how that arises for us. Imagine that you're working in a project team in a company. You're working on a project. You're part of the team, and you absolutely believe in this project with your entire heart. You want this project to succeed. You see this. This has amazing potential. This has to succeed. You will do whatever it takes to get it to succeed. You're in one of the many project meetings, and you've spotted something which you think could derail the project, something which could cause it to not work. So you kind of raise your hand in the meeting. Hey, have we looked at this? And the person running the meeting says, no, it's all fine. Just be quiet. It'll all be good. Do you then sit back and go, oh, okay, it's fine. I'll ignore it. Absolutely not. Because you're invested in the success of this project, and you've seen something which nobody else seems to have spotted, which you think could derail it. So you maybe try and raise it again, and you get shut down. So you then maybe go to your manager, who then says, no, shut up. They're fine with it. It's all right. Shut up. So you then raise it to his manager, and you go right the way up to the CEO, and you'll stand up and shout and scream until somebody takes it seriously and then has a look. And that's what fear often is. It's part of our mind going, listen, we need to look at this. And it could be that we're scared that something's going to happen. It could be that we're scared it's going to cause us problems. Or it could be we're scared that we're going into a situation that we don't know how to address. For example, a lot of people have a fear of speaking in public. Huge numbers of people have that fear. That fear is, or a lot of the fear is because they're going to be in an uncomfortable situation they're not normally in. What if everybody laughs at me? What if I say the wrong thing? What if all these sorts of things? So the fear that we feel about going to stand up and talk is, we're imagining all of these things are going to happen, none of which are pleasant. And that's the part of your mind shouting, hey, look, what about this? This could go wrong. So that's where those fears come from. So often fear is our mind either telling us, hey, there's something we've overlooked here, or it's telling us, hey, there's something we need to change, something we need to address. And the interesting thing with fear is nobody is born with a fear. Nobody's born scared of anything. We're completely fearless. As anyone who's had really young children will attest, they'll climb up and crawl along the ceiling if they could get away with it. We have to instill a healthy respect for the dangers of modern life. Unfortunately, sometimes that can go a little bit awry. We learn fear in one of three, or there are three different ways we learn fear, either through observation, through direct experience, or somebody teaches it. So, for example, if we see our parent always freaks out every time they see that strange 8-legged thing running across the floor. We really quickly go, oh, got it. We see that thing, we freak out. Yay, I can do that. Oh, I rock. So we've learned fear of spiders from a parent, for example. Or we might have a really unpleasant experience with a dog. We're out in the park. Parents are being boring, talking with other adults. So we go off. A dog comes bounding up to us. We've never seen one of these things up close before. It's slobber and mouth and teeth everywhere. The dog just wants to play. It's barking away because it wants to play. We don't know that. We kind of scream. Our parents, who aren't quite close enough to be able to reassure us, yell at us to come back and yell at the dog to go away. We freak out because these are our parents. They're gods. Nothing scares them, and they're scared of this. This must be really terrifying. And in that instant, we learn that this dog thing could eat us. It's terrifying. And we've learned potentially a phobia of dogs in that instance.
And there's a famous saying of trauma keeps you safe and stuff like that as well, isn't there? The kind of theory that, like, if something traumatizing happens, your instincts will kick in when you think something similar, or you're going to be in a similar situation.
Exactly. And certainly way back in the past, multi-generation, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of years ago, when we were very much not at the top of the food chain, when we were
Yeah.
much of the world out there was either trying to eat us or to kill us or whatever. So yeah, you'd learn all these things. Oh, that's danger, right? We'll keep away. Nowadays, far less danger around in those sorts of terms, but our mind hasn't kind of caught up
No, yeah,
with
it's not evolved.
the new
Yeah.
reality. So it's still operating in like the days when we used to live in caves where
Yeah.
everything was out trying to eat us. So that's kind of the second way we can learn fear. And the third way is when we get it taught to us. And there's four words which I'm willing to bet pretty much everybody who's listening to this or watching this has had said to them when they were young. Don't talk to strangers. And it's potentially life-saving advice at the time. But here's the thing. When was the last time anyone ever said, hey, Ryan, you're big enough, you're old enough, it's okay to talk to strangers.
Yeah.
You can look after them.
They kind of
We
leave
never
out
get told
they
that.
leave out the part where it's an adult. It's generally more
Yeah.
kind of accepted. Yeah.
Yeah. And worse than that, when we get told it, because the parent is telling us because they know what could go wrong and
Yeah.
they've got a lot of fear in there. So it doesn't come across as, don't talk to strangers. It sort of comes across as, don't you dare talk to a stranger, because if you talk to a stranger, you'll be killed to death. And Mummy and Dad, you'll be very upset. It'll all be your fault because you spoke to a stranger.
Yeah.
It's like, is it any wonder many of us go, oh,
Yeah. It's a
we
traumatizing
never get
experience
told.
alone.
Yeah. So that's kind of three main ways in which we develop or learn how to do fear.
So,
But sorry, go on.
no, sorry, continue. I thought there was a pause.
No, that's all right. I was going to say the really cool thing is that because we aren't born with fear, because we learn fears, we can learn not to be afraid. And paradoxically, the stronger your fear, the stronger the results you can get. Because in order to do fear very well, you have to be very good at learning how to do this, which means
you can
be very
unlearn
good
it
at
and learn
learning
the
how
other.
to
Yeah.
do the opposite.
So, in your experience, because I'm interested to ask this question, because obviously I think it's kind of, when people say fear, failure would be a word that would come like quite soon after it, right? That's a common fear. But I'm interested to hear in your experience of the people. Obviously, you don't have to kind of divulge any details or anything, but the people that you've worked with throughout, many years of doing this, how many people tend to be afraid of failure, and how many people tend to be afraid of success? And is there a realm of where people could be afraid of both?
I like that. That is a really good one because you're right. We talk about fear of failure. Oh, I'm scared of failing, whatever. I would say more of us are held back by fear of success
Yeah.
without realizing it. The reason being, it goes back to what we spoke about a little bit earlier about the comfort of routine. And as boring and humdrum and annoying as our current routine might be, if we change something about it, or if we attempt to change something and succeed in changing it, we're now in a new situation.
Yeah.
Things are different. There's change. Whereas if we try to change it but we fail, oh, well, that's a pain. But hey, it's all right because I know what to do. I
Yeah.
know what's going to happen. I know how to handle it. But if we succeed in doing this new thing, we're now in a new environment. We don't know what's coming along. We don't know what the new challenges are going to be. We don't know how to react to them. For many people, deep at the unconscious level, that can be very scary. So scary that they will actually sabotage their attempts to change
Yeah, like
without consciously realizing it
definitely.
because of the fear of success. And I would say that, or in my experience, fear of success is much more common than fear of failure, but it's also much more hidden. We don't realize that we're scared of succeeding.
Like, has anyone ever came to you and thought they had a fear of failure and then realized it was a fear of success? Has that ever kind of happened?
Yes, it has happened a few times, or quite a few times over the years. Because again, often whenever a client or whenever a prospective client comes to me, the one thing we don't do is go, "Oh, you've got this. Okay, well, we're going to do this, then this, then this, because that's what the tick list says, and then you'll be done." Um, Everything is always tailored to the individual, and the biggest part of it is the stuff we do right at the very start, the chat we have at the start, figuring out what's going on. What's your situation? What are you scared of? Why do you want to get rid of it? How does it come in? What's it stopping you doing? Why do you care that it's stopping you doing? All of that stuff to get a really, really detailed picture. Because often people will come with what they feel is the issue, but they're just seeing the symptoms. And
Yeah.
if you address the symptoms, the underlying issue is still there.
It's not dealt with, yeah.
Yeah, it'd be like walking into the doctor going, "Oh, my arm is really, really, really sore." The doctor gives you some painkillers. You say, "Yeah, it's great, but why is my arm still flopping in the wrong direction?" Because they're giving you the painkillers, they haven't fixed the broken arm.
How can we turn fear into a strength?
We can turn fear into a strength by working out what is it that fear is telling me. What do I need to know? What is it alerting me to? I'll give you a weird example. Just imagine you're going on a journey, you're driving along in your car, everything's fine, and then all of a sudden, ping, a light comes on the dashboard. You could either ignore it, go, it'll probably be fine, or you could get terrified, bail out of the car, run off screaming, "I'm never going near a car again." Or you could go, there's a light there. What does that mean? And find out what it means, and then resolve whatever it is that light means. So if it's your fuel light, for example, fill it up with petrol when you get to the next petrol station or whatever. So with fear, kind of figure out what is it that I'm scared of? Why is this thing scary? A great question you can ask yourself. I mean, I know, again, parents with kids will hate this question because young kids especially, will ask it over and over and over. But it can be a really powerful one when we ask ourselves, why?
Yeah.
Why? So what am I scared of? I'm scared of this. Why? Why does that scare me? Well, because ... Yeah. Why? Why is ... scary? Because it won't let me do this. Why? Why don't want to let you do that? Why do you want to do that? And keep digging deep, and then eventually you'll suddenly go, that's why. That's what's at the root of all of this. Then when you can address that, you can then start doing the thing that the fear wouldn't let you do. They say ask 7 whys. It's not always 7, but that's a good rule of thumb. You can ask yourself why 7 times, and you'll kind of dig deep. You'll get rid of the excuses, all the fluff, till you get the really deep stuff. And the reason it's you can then turn that fear into a great strength is if you're scared of the thing, and you're sufficiently scared of the thing that you want to get rid of that fear, that's because part of you would kind of quite like to do the thing. Because if you didn't want to do it, then it wouldn't bother you that you were scared of it. Because hey, who cares? So by figuring out what's the deep root that's causing you this fear, is it something that you learned or experienced in the past? Is it the fear that you don't know how to do the thing? For example, for many of us, that is the fundamental fear. Well, I don't know how I would do that. Now you know what the cause is. How are you going to go about finding out? And there are always ways to find out. We can ask others who've done it. We've got access to the internet, schools, colleges. There's a million and one ways to start finding out. But if you don't know that's the cause of your fear, you're not going to address it. But once you've figured out the cause of your fear, then you can start to address it, overcome it, resolve it, start building up until the thing that you were scared of becomes something that you're really good at doing. So what was a fear has now become a strength because you wanted to do it. You've now found a way to do it, and you really polish and refine it and hone it, and it becomes a big strength.
Yeah, definitely. And I suppose like what you mentioned, there's a lot of conscious work in there that kind of right? Like you mentioned with the car example, the kind of other two reactions are, I guess you would class as automatic reactions, right? Whether it's freaking out and leaving the car behind or ignoring it, like those are very kind of in the moment decisions. Whereas looking into it is something you have to take further and put more kind of a mental effort into. I guess that sounds a bit kind of weird, but for lack of a better term.
But no, you're right. Yeah, it's easy just to ignore it completely, and sometimes you might be fine because it might just be the washer fluid that's low, and you're fine. Or you might not, because it could be the engine oil pressure gauge has just come on. It's like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
10 miles down the road, you've got a massive problem. So it's easy to ignore it. It's easy also to let it put you off driving forevermore, or put you off doing whatever that thing is. Go, oh no, this is terrifying. I'm never doing this again. It does take effort to go, right, what's going on here? Let's figure it out. How do we resolve this? It takes effort, but in the long run, that effort is worthwhile. But if you don't put that effort in, nothing is going to change.
Yeah, 100%. So the next one I thought this would be really interesting. I'm not trying to like get a free coaching session or anything out of this next question, but
Right.
I thought I would for the kind of listeners angle, I thought it would be pretty cool for me to be like a little bit vulnerable and just like ask, what would your first comments to someone be who's a chronic negative self-talker and biggest fear is judgment?
Biggest fear is judgment. Okay. And the reason I picked on the biggest fear is judgment is that's where a lot of this negative self-talk would be coming from. Because if you weren't bothered about judgment, the negative self-talk wouldn't be there.
Yeah,
There's
they're
a lot
linked.
of negative self-talk is self-judgment. The big thing with judgment is about who's going to judge you. And more to the point, who cares? Why does it matter what they think? And it's an easy question to ask. I know it's not an easy question to answer, but that will be the first point. It's okay, well, I'm scared of judgment. Whose judgment specifically am I scared of? Why does it scare me? What happens if they do judge me?
Yeah.
How does that change things for me? What difference does it actually make? Okay, they might laugh at me. They might not like me. They might think I'm stupid. And what? Yeah, so that will be the first port of call, is figure out, so where's this fear of judgment coming from? Fear of whose judgment? For many people, it's fear of other people's judgment.
Yeah.
And that becomes, you then go down one path to resolve that. I mean, one thing is never be worried about what other people think of you, because the chances are they're not thinking of you.
Yeah.
Most people are too busy thinking about their own situation.
Yeah, no, definitely.
The other form of judgment is self-judgment. Oh, well, I would judge myself to be blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, where is that coming from? So that tells us it's one of two very, very different paths to go down, which you can't determine until you figure out, well, whose judgment is scaring me, and why? Why does it scare me?
Yeah. Interesting. Well, maybe to be continued if I do book a coaching session in the future. Not for the podcast, obviously. I'm not letting people into my entire personal life. But so just to kind of flip that on you, really, is what's your biggest fear and how do you turn it into a strength?
Oh, good question. I mean, when I started, I had lots of fears. I've as you might imagine, over the years, worked on them. I mean, one of my massive fears was speaking in front of people.
Yeah.
I was terrified, absolutely terrified. Doing a podcast, I would be, oh, it would be a really scary thing.
I still get that sometimes.
Well, that's fair enough. That's fair. And actually, and I will come back to the question, but you touched on something that's interesting there. When I work with people, that once they've got, particularly with public speaking, they kind of get over all the main stuff, but they go, you know what? I still get a little bit scared, a bit nervous before I go on stage. Once I get up on stage and start, it's brilliant, but I just get a bit of nerves before I go up. And I would say to them, that's good.
Yeah.
That is good, because the reason you're a little bit nervous is because you want to do a good job.
Yeah, you care about it. Yeah, definitely.
You care about it, exactly. So you've got that little frisson of, ooh, I hope I don't mess it up. I hope I get this right. And I still get that a little bit before going on stage. You get that little bit of, oh, here we go. The day that I find I have absolutely none of that butterflies in the stomach, none of any of that before I go on stage, to me would be the day that I should seriously consider giving up, because at that point it's like, who cares? I'll go out, I'll do some stuff, it'll be fine. Who cares if I get it right or wrong? So having that little bit of nerves, not fear, not terror, but just enough to kind of make you go, oh yeah, I've got to do this right, can be a good thing. But yeah, I used to be terrified of speaking to individual, speaking on stage would be right out. Now it's something I absolutely love. Love speaking on stage, whether it's sharing this sort of stuff or teaching people or performing on stage as well, whether it's the hypnosis magic shows or whether it's in pantomime, which is
Yeah.
great fun. Things that I love doing. I hope people think I'm good at them because they keep asking me back to do it. But stuff that I could never have done in the past because I was just petrified of it. So that's probably my biggest example of turning a fear into a strength. Fears that I have now,
Is there
actually,
any
I
ones that
think,
like you surprised yourself with overcoming or changing your kind of thought process towards them?
uh, not really. I guess just because as I got into this stuff, I kind of realized, well, you know what? If it's a fear and you want to overcome it, you can find a way. So
Yeah.
from that perspective, I think that I would say the one thing that still really scares me, which tells me I do need to do something about it at some point, and I will, is the idea of doing stand-up comedy.
Oh,
Absolutely.
interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I can speak on stage, I can dance, I can sing, play instruments, whatever, no problem. Stand-up comedy, now that terrifies me, which is why I will at some point go on, you get these courses for becoming stand-up
Yeah,
comic,
yeah.
and then at the end of it, you each do like a 3-minute set, which I know will be the most terrifying thing I could possibly do, but I need to do it just to get over it. But I think the reason that's so terrifying for me is if I go to deliver a talk on hypnosis, for example, I'm effectively saying, "Hey, everyone, I'm an expert on hypnosis," and yeah, without wanting to sound big-headed, I'm an expert on hypnosis. I've been using it for years, studying it for years. I don't know everything about it, but I know a lot more than the lay audience would know, so I can give them plenty of information which will let them feel, "Hey, I got what I came for." But just the thought of standing up there and saying, "Hey, I'm someone who's going to make you laugh. I'm funny." It's like, oh, that is a really, really big thing to say.
Yeah, it's
And
a big
there's
statement.
probably,
Yeah.
yeah,
Luckily, there
there's
seems
probably
to be
stuff deep inside as well
luckily
that's,
there seems to be a gap in the market for that at the moment because a lot of them have became like political commentators now. So
well, yeah. So what about you? Just turn it on. You just out of curiosity. What were some of your biggest
um,
fears?
do you know what? Like one thing that I'm really bad for, and this is, I used to think, oh, maybe I'm just not exposing myself enough to it, but then I like started exposing myself to it, and it still didn't go away, and it's never happened since. Is about 10 years ago. I've always walked to the shop or something like that in any kind of condition whatsoever, and it would be fine. But I remember about 10 years ago. This is going to sound really silly, and people laugh at me because the amount of complaining I do about this on social media. But I got swooped by a seagull, right, and it came out of nowhere. Like
Mhm.
I actually didn't realize I was being attacked by it. I thought it like misjudged its flight pattern or something until like I'd seen it U-turning and looking quite angry at me. And I was like, oh, actually, I'm under assault here. And I think it was because I must have walked past. It was around summertime where they've got their young kicking about and all that.
Oh, yes,
So I must have walked past one without realizing it, and they didn't take too kindly to that.
yeah.
And I just remember the shock of it because I think if I knew it was going to attack me, I wouldn't have been as bothered by it. But the fact that it took me by so much surprise that I thought I was in a
Mm.
safe environment to the next thing, like
Yeah.
defending myself with a folder next to the co-op, like. So ever since then, it's not like I mean, no, I can't be like housebound, you know what I mean, during the summer. So like I've
Mm,
obviously
yeah.
walked about since, and I haven't really been attacked since, which is quite lucky in today's world where we live. Like, but
Yeah, God, they're
I'm
all over
all
the place.
it's whether regardless of whether it's like their nesting time or the winter, if they're about and they're above me,
Mhm.
I feel like an impending sense of doom that like this is going to happen. Like it's almost like I have to be alert because I can't get shocked like that again, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But that causes
Yeah,
like
that makes sense.
a certain element of constant stress. You know?
Mm,
So that is
yeah.
something I would like to tackle. That is, it sounds very kind of miscellaneous, but I think it's the small things that we kind of probably ignore the most, right? That can actually have a bigger impact than what we realize. Like, I remember actually my first port of call was to try and I remember I read up because I got a bit tense about them the year after, and it said go to where they're not at, and I'm like, okay, where? Like, have you been round Murray of the last 10 years? But so yeah, that would be something, because it is like it's got to like the point of where like I'm thinking like, when's this going to happen? When there's like
Mm,
no
mm.
even kind of rationale to why it would if it's December. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So that would be my one.
Ah, right, yes, and that's an interesting one. And again, or with that, the fear isn't so much the fear of seagulls; it's the fear that one is just going to suddenly attack you. And
Yeah,
let's face it,
yeah,
if you'd been walking along minding your own business and somebody had just suddenly leapt out and set about
yeah. It
you,
would be the same thing. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. So, if you were ever to address that, the thing to address is the emotion that's associated with that particular event,
yeah,
because your mind has stored that event. Because our unconscious mind is lazy when it can be. We don't work things out from first principles. You don't wake up every morning and learn how to walk and learn how to talk. We've got like this rule book or a set of instructions within our unconscious mind. So whenever it's in a situation, it goes, hang on, flick through the rule book. Ah, here we go. Get out of bed. Yeah, I know how we do that. We do this, we do this, we do this. So now when you're out and about, your mind's going, oh, we're out and about. Let's have a look. Oh, seagull attack. Get a bit worried that seagull's going to attack you. Oh, I can do that. Right. I'm a bit worried that seagull's going
yeah,
to attack me because that was really scary. And when I think about it, oh, the fear comes. So what you would do is kind of overwrite that entry in the rule book. So that instead of be scared and be vigilant, it would be you kind of just get rid of the emotion, make it flat. So
yeah,
instead you're out and about going, oh well, seagulls about, hope they don't attack, and just carry on.
yeah. Kind of be more relaxed about it. And obviously like taking
Mm,
into certainty, like not like I would ever like harm an animal, but like it can't hurt me, if you know what I mean. Like it's not even
mm.
trying to; it's trying to warn or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
It's
but
probably more scared than
then yeah,
you are when
exactly.
you
It's
think
probably
about
got
it.
that fear that you mentioned earlier for parents for their kids, right? That's
Yeah,
it's kind of emotion going into it.
absolutely.
But
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I suppose like I've kind of I've analyzed it my own way a couple times. Like I've realized that like I'm not so much bothered or aware of it when they're on the ground. It's when they're above me, because and that it's going to sound like really deep here, but there's almost like it kind of feels overall it might be like a lack of control and the kind of anxiety that causes, right? Because it has the higher ground, or the fact that I don't know when
Yeah.
one might swoop right in the summer or something like that. So I've looked at it a bunch of ways, probably more than I should have considering what the actual
Yeah.
event was. But yeah, though that's interesting though. Definitely, I think I will have to try and bec- because even though it doesn't stop me from like walking about or anything, so like, but I should be more relaxed doing it. Like there's nothing.
Mm.
Back in the day, it would have been quitting smoking. That would have been the big one. And I actually read a book which kind of said, and it really changed my thought process on this of like, stopping nicotine addiction. There's no actual painful symptoms or anything like that. It's just, it's all like a psychological addiction. Not all of it, but like there's a small part of it that is a physical chemical one. But the kind of, it's a bit of a brutal word, but propaganda that's been put out there by, billionaire companies of smoking's difficult to give up and all this type of stuff. Because if you
Yeah.
put that stuff out there, people believe it, right? And the more
Mm,
people
mm.
believe something's difficult, the less likely they are to do it. And so that was quite interesting. So that would have been it, but I managed to beat that. So it is the seagull one for the time. Not kick the distrust of nature of Murray yet, but so yeah, street hypnosis. I mentioned it earlier. It was I watched a couple of your videos, and I believe you were probably still down south doing this. I believe one of them was in London. I believe it was a
Yeah,
couple months.
most of those would have been. Oh, I popped down to London from time to time,
Yeah,
catch up with friends and so on. And yeah, there were two or three of us. I think there were two or three of us had a few goes where we went, you know what, let's just do some street hypnosis. And and film it and see what happens. Kind of how I got into that was so with the hypnosis that I use is to help people in a therapy setting, or help them change their mindset, that sort of thing. People will sometimes ask, what's the difference between that sort of hypnosis and stage or street hypnosis? And the answer is nothing. It's the same tools. It's exactly the same stuff. The difference is the intended outcome. When I work with someone, hypnotize them to quit smoking or whatever it is, the intention is that once they come back out, once they finish the hypnosis, they will now be a non-smoker. So we've helped them to change their mindset and go, oh, right, yes, I'm a non-smoker now. I know how to be a non-smoker. With stage or street hypnosis, which is the same thing, it's just either on a stage or out in the streets.
Yeah.
The intention is to take someone, let them get rid of their inhibitions, let them pretend to be something different for a few minutes, to have a bit of fun, have a laugh, be entertaining, and then go back to their normal everyday life. But it's the same tools, it's the same things that you use. Now, with hypnosis, pretty much anybody can be hypnotized. Anybody, I'll say it, anybody, any normally functioning adult can be hypnotized if they want to be. But people fall into three categories. You've got some people who can be hypnotized really quickly, really easily. You've got the majority of people who you'd go through the normal, relax, close your eyes, blah, 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 and take 5 to 15, 20 minutes to fully relax them into hypnosis. And then you've got a few people who find it really difficult to go into hypnosis. You can work with those people and get them into hypnosis, but it takes a lot of work, and it's a lot longer.
Is there a reasoning behind that, Keith, as to why not that people are resistant to it, but there's, the more some people are more resistant to it than others, the kind of getting into that state?
Yeah. I mean, certainly between the first two categories of people, the more times you become hypnotized, the easier you find it to go into a trance. So when you've been hypnotized many times, it's very easy to go into a trance because you know how to do it, basically. You've done it many times. Many hypnotists, because will tend to practice on each other, so many hypnotists can go into a trance incredibly easily. Some people are naturally good at it, because with hypnosis, it's all kind of imagine and pretend. So it's like, imagine that you're so relaxed that blah, 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 blah. And I'm be careful not to say anything too much there, because I don't want anyone to go into trance while they're listening to this. But some people are really good at imagining those things. Some people, it takes a bit more effort, partly because they've maybe not done it before, or partly because they don't really imagine that often. They don't use their imagination so much.
Would someone be more resistant to it if they were more skeptical of the process to begin with? Would that?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Before doing any hypnosis with anyone, I always go through some pre-talk where we explain what hypnosis is, what it isn't. There's a lot of misconceptions. People think it's mind control. It's not. If I'm the hypnotist and you're the person going into hypnosis, you are the one who's in complete control. I offer you the suggestions to relax, to do this, to do that, but it's up to you to do it. If you don't want to do it, you won't. So even if you've gone into trance and I then suggest something which goes against your morals, or you just do not want to do, you just won't do it.
Yeah.
You'll either just sit there and wait for the next suggestion, or you'll pop out of trance. So you can't be made to do anything that you don't want to do. And also people assume you're going to feel otherworldly and swirly psychedelic colors. That's illicit substances they're thinking of.
Yes.
Trance is, it's a perfectly natural state. We all go through. We pass through that state of trance every time we go to sleep or wake up. We often experience it during the day. I mean, have you ever been reading a book or watching a film and you're so engrossed in it, you kind of forget where you are?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's trance.
Yeah.
That is a state of trance.
Yeah, it is interesting. And to be fair, like, even though I would definitely say that it's not as psychedelic as the latter option that you mentioned, there is like some kind of elements of dreams and differences like that can have that kind of effect on people for sure. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, if people are expecting hypnosis to feel a particular way and they're not feeling that, they're gonna think, oh well, no, this doesn't feel right. Or if they're going, oh, I don't think I could be hypnotized. If you don't think you can be, then you probably won't be.
Yeah. It's all about your
Now,
beliefs.
there are some who will say, oh, yes, you can. Even those people you can hypnotize, and you can in certain ways. But the question would be, why would you want to? Why would you want to hypnotize someone who's resistant to it?
Yeah.
Where's the benefit in it?
Yeah, there's no point. Yeah.
There are some people that I work with who go, oh no, I don't like hypnosis. Brilliant. We're not going to do any hypnosis at all. We'll do everything purely NLP. No hypnosis at all. Like, really? Yeah, absolutely. Oh, and you can see them visibly relaxing.
Yeah, there's like an
great, so I'm
element
not
of
gonna do
trust being
anything.
gained through that.
Yeah, exactly. And then there was the final category of people I mentioned who find it really difficult to go into trance. Very often, those are people who are incredibly logical and they've got a very active mind. So every time you're saying something, their mind is analyzing it. So you say, close. Oh, they get me to close my eyes. That's so that it cuts out all the blah, 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 blah. Oh, now they've said this. Oh, why are they saying that? Oh, because. So rather than relaxing the mind's going into overdrive, so which is the exact opposite of hypnosis, which is why for many hypnotists, they find those people, they can't hypnotize them. What you have to do instead is work with this and instead engage the mind and just get it to go into complete overdrive, completely overloaded, and then offer it the suggestion, hey, if at any time it's easier to relax into trance, just find you can go into trance. So your mind reaches the point where it's so overloaded and goes, oh, I could go into trance instead. We'll do that. Oh, but it does take a lot more effort. When you're doing street hypnosis or stage hypnosis, it doesn't make for a good show if you have to spend 15 minutes hypnotizing people on the stage.
There's got to be like an element of like velocity to it, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. You want the people who can go really quickly. And that's so you can also use that when you're working with people in a therapeutic one. You can do the whole guide them in. On the other hand, if you find someone is really susceptible to trance, you can just use what's called rapid hypnosis, rapid induction, where they go in literally in seconds because it speeds up. It's like, hey, I've now got 15 more minutes to work with you rather than guide you into trance. So I went on a course to study rapid inductions. And that's how I kind of met up with some of these other people. And we sort of thought, hey, these things work cool. You know what? Let's do it on the street. Let's have a bit of fun. Problem is, if you go up to a complete stranger on the street, or if a complete stranger on the street comes up to you and says, hey, do you want to try some hypnosis? Like, get away from me.
Yeah, quite an alarming first impression.
You need something to build that rapport with them, which is where I ended up learning magic. I actually got a chance to study with Paul Daniels.
Wow.
Oh, yes. Because if I walk up to someone in the street and say, hey, do you want to see something cool? Pick a card, pick any card.
Yeah.
People know what it is. Oh, yes, I can pick a card. So you do that, do the trick. Then you can say, hey, do you want to see something really cool? Sure. Then there are various tests you can do to see how susceptible someone is to hypnosis. You know, things like hold your hands out and close your eyes and imagine that they're being drawn together and all that sort of thing. If they do well and do that and they go, oh, wow, well, that was cool. If they do really well with that, you can go, hey, do you want to see something really cool? You've heard of hypnosis. Should we just give that a quick try? Oh, go on then.
Yeah.
You've built the trust.
You've piqued their interest as well, right? Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And then they're much more likely to say, yeah, let's do some. So that's how the whole magic side of things came around.
Yeah, because these videos I think they were from like 2015, the ones that I watched, and they are doing like the kind of for people that maybe haven't seen street magic before, it would be like the kind of dynamo stuff of where like, is this your car, all this type of stuff. I've got a couple more questions. I realize we're kind of already about to hit the hour mark, and I do have a booking in the evening, but well, the last question's actually from the last guest. So I've kind of plagiarized Stephen Bartlett a little bit, but you know, he's in a better financial position than me, so there's no need to like complain about it, Stephen.
I thought you were going to say he was your last guest.
No. I might start going on about like keto diets, and maybe I'll get on there or something at some point. But so I've just been like, because when I was doing this to begin with, it was like a bit of a hobby during lockdown, whilst I was like waiting for the office to open again so I could go back to my job and that. And then it just like it kind of skyrocketed into like it wasn't meant to be guests, and then like some of the people that I was doing it to begin with couldn't commit to it anymore, so I started having on people solo, and it just kind of all spiraled to the point of where I'm like producing a bunch of other people's ones now and stuff.
Kind of takes over, doesn't it?
Yeah, but I always felt like I never actually kind of kept, like, obviously the episodes kind of serve as memories that I could go back and listen to, although that would I've refrained from that because I feel like it would be very vain if I listened back to my own recording. But like I wanted to kind of keep like a bit of a scrapbook, really. And I find it's pretty interesting to see like a bit of connection between guests without them realizing who it's going to be and the kind of continuity of that. So that's kind of where I like the idea coming from. But yes, I did see it on Diary of a CEO and thought that's a pretty cool idea. I'm going to copy and paste that onto what I'm doing. So the next one I have is like, how rewarding do you find this line of work, and what does it give you when you see others' mindsets change for the better?
Oh, nice question. Because let's face it, if a line of work you're in is not rewarding, then
Yeah.
why spend your time doing it? Find something else. Um, yeah, I love it. I love seeing the results in people when they've come with whatever their issue is, and seeing the massive change it makes in them, or the massive change they make for themselves. Their realization that, oh my word, that thing that held me back, whatever it was, has gone now. I can do these things I've wanted to do. And the thing I really love is the fact that it's so quick, a lot quicker than people generally realize, which is really gratifying. They're going, oh, you mean we don't have to spend like 6 months of sessions to do this? We can do it in a single session. We can do 6 months if you like, but you know what? Do it in a single session, bam, you're done, and you can get on with enjoying life. And I think part of the reason that I enjoy it so much, part of the reason I find it so rewarding, is the way that I got into it. And I said I got into it because I was terrified of strangers, and I know just how much that held me back. I kind of wish in a way I'd got into this stuff many, many years earlier. Things would have been very different. But hey, who knows where that would have led. But I know the massive difference it can make. So I know the difference it's made in my life. So knowing that I'm helping these people to make potentially similar differences in their lives is it's phenomenally rewarding.
Would
To be able to just,
would
I mean,
liber-
it's not a magic wand. I can't wave a magic wand and make you better. But what I can do is help you basically wave your own magic wand and help you to make yourself better. It's like the things that these people go on to do, the relief of not being weighed down by whatever it is that's been holding them down is I love it, and which is why I still do it 15 years later and plan to continue doing it for a long time to come.
would liberating be the word to use for when obviously people get there, and obviously I guess yourself when you used it to kind of free yourself from your own kind of anxieties and stuff like that?
I think liberating would be a really good word to use for that. Definitely.
Okay, so the final question I've got before I go to the question from the last guest, and this is kind of totally irrelevant to everything that we talked about so far, but it's something I've been noticing a lot more in the last 6 months, and I know it's something that like you've seen as well, just from being connected with you on the specific social media platform. So when I kind of started my business and that about 3-4 months into it, I don't know why, like I when I was younger, I used to have all the social media, and it got to the point of where I was scrolling through the same stuff for hours on end, and I was like, this is ridiculous. I'm taking up so much of my time by looking at the same kind of wagon wheel over and over and over again. But I knew I needed social media pages for my business page because it's a very important aspect of your kind of self-economy these days when you're self-employed. But I hadn't gone to LinkedIn yet. And I'd heard all the time that LinkedIn, it's, for professionals, it's for networking and that. And I was like, okay, that would be really great. And I would say with probably I'm not so active on there, to be honest with you. Like, the first 3-6 months were great, but I don't know what it is, but, I tend to just go on there now to, well, the last couple have been to book podcast guests, funnily enough, but like when I'm like updating like the odd weekly post of what I've been doing that week and stuff like that. But I've noticed like a real kind of almost like a sinister turn in kind of like just kind of I wouldn't call it vulgarity, but just like the stuff that you wouldn't expect to see on a work social media, you would more see in a kind of I say normal, but like a kind of a zoo social media comment section, if you know what I mean, where like people have seen like a post from a newspaper and it's obviously just there so that people that are on different sides just they're there to clash in the comments. And to be fair, like I actually seen one of something that you reacted to recently, and it was actually I think it was yesterday, but it was I don't know what this person's role was, but she put a picture up of a guy with like a lot of piercings in the face and that, and I think the tagline was what would his friends call him. I mean, that's bad enough, but if you look through some of there's a lot of support for the guy in the comments, and rightly so, but some of the comments, and these are from like people that are meant to be CEOs or people that are, I've seen all sorts of like job titles in there. But one thing I'll give you credit for is you are one that does not let that stuff go unanswered. If there's any, I'll beat this out, but if there's any going about, Keith Blakemore Noble is there to respond to it in quick time, and I've been really kind of enjoying your pushback to a lot of it. So I just kind of wanted to ask, what do you kind of think of the current state of LinkedIn? Because I think we can all understand the current state of social media is kind of engineered to be like that, for as bad as it is. But in a world of where this is meant to be, this is to improve my career or to promote my business or whatever it may be, the kind of just childish kind of behavior and brutality of the internet kind of taking it over, it seems like, for the last year that I've been on it, at least anyway.
I think a lot, and you're right, I've seen it. I do believe it is getting worse and worse over time, for sure. I think a lot of it is just down to this algorithm chasing. Because with LinkedIn, when you create a post, and it's the same with other social media platforms, it'll send it. It won't give it to everybody who's subscribed to you, because we'd never be able to catch up with everything. So it has various indicators to say how many people it should give your post out to, as opposed to somebody else's post, and so on. And their fundamental aim is to keep people reading LinkedIn as long as they can. So if there are posts, if you create posts which often gets lots of interaction, your posts are going to get shown more, because it's going, hey, people are going to read this, they're going to stay on our platform more. If I put posts that never get any interaction, it's going to go, well, nobody likes those, we're not going to share any of those posts. Which is a reasonable way of doing things, but a lot of people are increasingly gaming the algorithm with rage bait. Basically, if you put something on that's going to wind people up or get lots of people annoyed or get lots of people, like that one was basically lots of people bullying.
Yeah, totally.
You're going to get a huge amount of engagement on that one, which means next time you pop a post, LinkedIn's going to go, well, their last one got lots of engagement. Obviously, lots of people like this person. We'll show it to more people. So a lot of people do a lot of rage bait type of posts from time to time in order to get themselves a boost in the algorithms, so that their other posts then get seen, which is incredibly annoying. And it is causing more and more of a problem. I mean, we've seen it on basically all of the social media platforms have that sort of problem from in various stages. I mean, there are some platforms where all it is basically toxic rage bait.
Yeah, you're being rewarded for toxic behavior is basically what's going on. Yeah,
exactly. And it has infested LinkedIn as well now, and it is becoming increasingly a problem. And I think really the only way to solve it is if we all go, that's rage bait, I'm going to ignore it. I'm not even going to say, hey, you're posting rage bait. I'm just going to ignore it completely. And I do see a lot of those posts where I think this is horrible, you shouldn't be saying this, but I deliberately don't comment on it, because
you're feeding into the machine of it.
Yeah. But ones like that one where there were just so many comments, like, well, come on, can't stand by, gotta say something.
Yeah, there's definitely a line, and that one in particular was pretty despicable, to put it lightly. Do you know what I mean? Like, I mean, the person that was in the picture, I don't know if she knew that person or whatever, but that wasn't there to defend themselves. Not like it would make it
Mm,
any better if they were, I suppose, but
no, no.
it was just wrong on like a load of levels, and
Yeah.
just sat really
But
kind of uncomfortably with me. Like,
yeah, but I think the thing that people who engage in rage baiting forget is that, yes, they'll get lots of hits, but the more they do it, the more people are going to go, that's not very nice. I don't like it. I'm not going to do business with it. I don't want to do business with that sort of person.
yeah,
So yes, they get the short-term hits and short-term algorithm boosts, but over time, they're going to find a lot of the people who would might have worked with them are going to be kind of shying away from them. It's like, well, you're not really a nice person. And then the people who they do attract are going to be those people who are much more likely to be nasty and negative anyway. So in the end, it kind of self-sabotages for many. But
for sure. And I suppose like social media, not to look too deep into it, is kind of almost like an insight into someone's subconscious mind, right? Like
mm,
that is like a side of the internet where it has made, you know, some people that wouldn't indulge in the worser angels of their nature more comfortable with doing so. Do you know what I mean? So it's
yeah, I
yeah,
mean, there's a lot of keyboard warriors because they can say
yeah,
stuff and they know there's going to be no impact. I remember a quote attributed to Mike Tyson. I don't know whether it was from him or not, but he said of social media, a lot of you have got used to saying stuff without getting punched in
punched
the
in the
face for
face.
it, and
Yeah,
it shows.
yeah, it's
And
because
yeah, it's right.
yeah, it's just true. So um, I haven't seen this question. I've made it my aim not to read the question before asking it. So I've just turned over
Oh,
the page now. I've not actually read it. I see it in my peripherals. Obviously, this is a little bit different today because this is remote. So what I'm going to ask you to do after we're done today is send me a LinkedIn message, and I'm not going to read it until I have the next person on. So
right.
I'll let you know who the last guest was because I believe you know Archie McRae, the
Oh yes,
cinemalist.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So he obviously didn't know it was you that was going to be coming on. So he asks, if there was a book about your life, what would the last words be?
Book about my life. What
These
would the
questions have been
last
really good so far. I've been worried like someone might come out with something quite mundane, but they've all been really in depth.
the one that's come to me. So I'm going to go with it. It's the first words that came to me, and they all lived happily ever after.
Oh, I remember because I used to ask people what was what I thought it was a good question to ask people what they overthink a lot of the time, just because I think everyone like said something different, but it also showed that everyone does overthink things, so everyone kind of is in the same boat in that sense. And you get some really good answers, but then I was like, I've done this for like 20 episodes in a row now. I need to change it up some way. Just before I let you go, I did kind of gloss over, but I believe you co-host a couple neurodiversity groups. I know you post that on your LinkedIn quite a bit. How did
Yeah,
that come about, and how important is that kind of representation? Because as someone that's neurodiverse myself, like I think I mentioned in my original talk with you that I did a documentary around kind of the lack of local support networks for so on, and you've obviously took the initiative and set it up in a way that kind of works for the community that you've built.
yeah. So I'm in a business networking group called For Networking. I've been with them for a while, and one of the things that they do is set up different groups. It used to be all face to face, and then COVID came along and everything went online.
Yeah,
So now they've got a mixture of face to face and online ones, and a lot of the online ones are around specific interests and themes, which can make for interesting networking because you connect with people with similar interests. And I used to run one. It ran for a few years, but it kind of ran its course and kind of dwindled. So we closed that one down. But I was thinking, because I'm neurodiverse as well, and I was thinking, you know what? I know there are quite a few neurodiverse people in and across the network. I know there's lots of neurodiverse people in businesses far and wide. What if we set up a group business meeting specifically for neurodiverse? Well, not just for neurodiverse. We call it neuro inclusive because it's for people who are neurodiverse, people who are neurotypical as well, but who want to connect with neurodiverse people for whatever reason. Why don't we set one up? And got interest from a couple of other people to help run it. Got the interest of the person who owns Four Networking, and said, "Well, yeah, count me in because she's neurodiverse as well." So brilliant, here we go. And rather than just launch it as just a normal networking meeting, we thought, because we're tailoring it for neuro inclusivity, let's tweak it around a bit. Let's make it really focus it and make it neurodiverse friendly. So we've kind of adjusted it slightly, like shortened some of the bits, which is great for our members who have got ADHD, for example. Got shorter sections, and we do it in such a way that makes it much easier, because a lot of neurodiverse people find they have to mask, they have to hide the facets of what they're doing, whether it's stimming, whether it's whatever. So it's just nice to have a meeting where it's 1 hour every fortnight. You can just be you, and nobody's going to say anything. Nobody's going to think anything. And yeah, we've been running that for a few months now, and it seems to be picking up nicely. So it's mainly for people obviously in for networking, and also we're open for people, anyone, to come along and try it out as well. Make some business connections, and who knows?
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you very much for the last hour 15 minutes, I believe, that we've just hit there, Keith. It's been very interesting. I was going to say enlightening, but I feel like that would be like condescending and a cliche and everything. I am going to book in a coaching session with you at some point, because I am interested to kind of tackle what I mentioned with you with the whole kind of judgment thing and stuff like that. I feel like that is something that I would like to explore more. Obviously not for the podcast, because again, like I think there is like an element of where like there's I have a personal life in my own kind of my own kind of mental space. But I think it's just been really good. Like even just being able to kind of get like your thought process and how it kind of works and stuff like that, with obviously out giving away every single detail, because you do make an income from doing this, and I wouldn't want to like jeopardize that for free. But I very much appreciate your time, Keith. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, my absolute pleasure, and thank you so much for connecting, getting in touch, Ryan. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, yeah, it's been an hour and a quarter, time just flown by.
I
So
know, I
thank you
know.
so much. I really appreciate it.